This episode is presented by State Farm. Having insurance isn't the same as having State Farm. It's like expecting the leadership of a team captain on the football field, but getting a sea captain. You wouldn't settle for just anything for your team. Shouldn't it be the same for your insurance? So don't settle for just any insurance when you can go with a leader. State Farm. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
You're tuned into Auto Intelligence, live from Auto Trader, where data, tools, and your preferences sync to make your car shopping smooth.
They're searching inventory.
Oh, yeah.
They find what you need.
They're gonna find it.
You can make a budget for your wallet to help you succeed. Pricing's precise and true.
So true.
It's smarter car shopping.
Ooh.
Just for you.
Oh, it's just for you.
Ooh.
Find your next ride at autotrader.com. Powered by Auto Intelligence.
Make your next move with American Express Business Platinum. Earn 5 times membership rewards points on flights and prepaid hotels booked on AmexTravel.com. And with a welcome offer of 150,000 points after you spend $20,000 on purchases on the card within your first 3 months of membership, your business can soar to new heights. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-platinum. Amex Business Platinum. Built for business by American Express.
Are your business expenses playing hide and seek? With Uber for Business, the small spends that slip through the cracks, like rides and meals, go right where you need them. Because it integrates with leading expense platforms, you can say goodbye to surprise costs, missing dollars, or chasing receipts. Everything's track downable. Uber for Business. Make small steps that make a big impact. Learn more at uber.com/small steps.
Let's kick off the first good, bad, and ugly of the 2025 season. First Bears game recap of the season. Bears start 0-1, but before we get into all that, going into the weekend, if we talked about this, I am tired of the ever constant negative narratives surrounding, this team or primarily directed at this quarterback. At this point, I'm just like, let's just play ball, man. I want to talk about what's on the field. I want to talk about that. But before we can even get to that, we had that new report from Tyler Dunne. He does a lot of deep dives into deep journalistic dives in sports. He's got on the Bears case a lot. And he had an article that dropped on Friday. House of Dysfunction, the curious case of Caleb Williams. We've been doing this for a while. We know the Bears are dysfunctional. We don't need to read this to know that, but I'm not going to speak for you all. I'm going to let you all talk about what you all thought about that article. But for me, none of it was a surprise. But Tiff, I'm going to kick off with you. What did you get out of this article?
None of it was surprising, right? None of it seemed like it was just impossible. It seemed embellished at points and trying to, of course, you got to take it with a grain of salt. Some of these sources, who knows who they are? Who knows how salty they are? I'm quite sure most of them are no longer with the team. So you've got to take all that into consideration. But there was nothing there that a Bears fan would be super surprised by, right? We know the organization has been dysfunctional for a very long time. It's not surprising that there may be dysfunction within the team. It's not surprising that last season was a disaster and there was dysfunction last season. So I don't think anything was super shocking. It seemed like a little bit of a Caleb hit piece, right? So you feel bad for him. He's just trying to come into the season with a clean slate. I mean, some of it, I think last season, he could have kept his mouth closed about the coaches. Just don't lay blame anywhere, bro. When you retire, you could tell all your secrets. But for now, just, take the onus on you. It's on me. I could be better. Oh, that's what people want to hear. They don't want to hear the coaches didn't do this for me. Woo, woo, woo. So, but at the same time, you feel bad for him because we're trying to turn this new page, start a new season. Everybody's got this new energy. And here comes this negativity before the beginning of the season. I will say, and this is no shade towards Caleb, but one part of the article says that he sashayed away from Thomas Brown. And I did scream out loud that they said he sashayed away from Thomas Brown. So that part of the article did get a good chuckle. I side-eyed a lot of it, but I ain't gonna lie, that had me damn laughing at my computer. So that's my impression.
If you were side-eyeing, wow. Wow. Because we know you're not the most protective of Caleb. Let's just say it like that.
I'm protective of him, but like I said, nothing that was said about
Better.
him just, I mean, I think it was really embellished. Like when they were talking about the team, he demanded that the team do all these things he wanted them to do the way he wanted to do. I don't believe that. Do I believe that the team was extra catering to him and did some things maybe they shouldn't have done just to make him, more comfortable? Like took it too far? Yes, but I don't think he was in there laying down the law demanding that that's what happened. Nah.
Well, I mean, I got an opinion on that. Q, what was your overall takeaway from this article?
So some things were really eye-opening and made sense. So there was a lot of things that I actually did believe, and I'm pro Caleb, but there was a light that flicked on, like, okay, this is why this happened during the season, and this is why Cole Kmet was making these comments, and this is why this happened in this game, and this is why Thomas Brown said this in the Green Bay Packers press conference. I don't know if you all remember. It seemed like it was a tiny detail, but he said he finally had a breakthrough with Caleb Williams. I didn't know there was tension like that in the Seattle game, but it makes sense as far as what Thomas Brown said in that press conference. Also, something else made sense. They said that Caleb was insistent on the snap count being ready, set, or kind of a simplified snap counting cadence. Unfortunately, that makes a lot of sense. We've heard we've heard Ben Johnson harp on the cadence and breaking the huddle all off season, and we've never heard it this, being this much emphasis on a cadence and snap count with any quarterback. And we've been watching Bears football for a long time. We've been watching bad quarterbacks for a long time. So we've seen all sorts of problems between turnovers and accuracy. But I was, it clicked that, okay, this makes sense, because I don't know if you all remember in that regular season opener against the Titans, there was at least 3 instances where I'm sitting and observing. I'm like, are they jumping off sides? Are they Titans knew the snap count? Titans knew the snap count, because I'm looking. I'm like, how are they getting this jump on the snap count? Is the offensive line not getting out of their stance fast? So that article was eye opening. There were things that were embellished that I can't believe, because there was several coaches or front office people speaking on the condition of anonymity, and some of the things didn't add up. They're there to embellish and get the people's attention. For instance, one of the guys in the pro scouting department, they said he was adamant and told Poles not to draft Caleb, and Poles didn't listen. And that guy is no longer, I can't remember his name, but that guy is no longer with the Bears. And that is just BS. I got to call Cap on that, because if you know about front offices, guys that are pro personnel directors don't go scout college players. The Bears have a head of college scouting, and they got scouts that are specifically there just to scout collegiate talent, and then they got scouts that are there to scout pro talent. There's no way this guy had enough insight to go tell Poles not to draft him. First of all, he's not going to the college games. That's not his department. Second of all, they made it seem like Poles fired him because he disagreed. He was the dissenting voice in the front office. When that guy actually left because he got a promotion. He's head of a pro scouting department. I can't remember where he is or his name, but I figured that was part of the story that's embellished. But I do think Poles was dead set on Caleb Williams, and that he did kind of disregard the other 2 prospects. And I don't think I think at about October, he decided already, when it looked like the Panthers were gearing towards giving us the number 1 pick, he decided that he was not bringing back Justin Fields. I think that was apparent to most of us in all of the league, which is why he did not get good draft capital or leverage for trading Justin Fields. And I think he did decide that Caleb Williams. So I think there was a lot of truth in the article. I think there was a lot of bit embellished, but it was kind of unfortunate to hear that, because now I do see why Ben Johnson has been so rough on him in training camp. Caleb has some maturity issues. He came into this league with maturity issues, and I don't want to just harp on Caleb, because it seems like Luther Burden kind of had to be reined in too. And these are young men. Where were we at 21, 22, 23? I'm sure we all had maturity issues. But you're a professional athlete, you're a quarterback to whom much is given, much is expected. So I mean, it was eye opening, and I definitely do agree with some of it. And I think it highlighted that Caleb does have some maturity issues, and he kind of was able to freelance in high school and college based on his talent, and he hasn't played in structures. I think there was a lot of truth in it, though.
When Q was talking, it made me think of something else. I did feel like there was things that I had aha moments too, because when they were saying how, I don't believe it was half the time, but the article said like half the time he would get the plays wrong, right? And if you all remember, the O-line took a lot of scrutiny, and I think it was Tevin Jenkins. At one point, he said something to the nature of, "We're just going off the play that we heard in the huddle," or something to that
He
nature.
did.
So
Yes,
when I
he
heard,
did.
he calling plays wrong, I was like, there were a
Mhm.
lot of moments where things that happened last year or off comments made more sense with this light. So, again, not to harp strictly on Caleb. He did. Because I think they got tired of taking the sole blame. Like, bro, we're just going off what we heard in the huddle. But, of course it's wrong, but it's coming to us wrong. And so when he said that, we were all kind of like, okay. And now it makes a little bit more sense.
They also said that he came in demanding receivers to run routes a certain way. And I don't know if you remember, but in the press conference, DJ Moore called him bossy. And it was a playful moment between the two, but I think there was some truth in it. And I think now we can kind of understand why DJ Moore has some frustration that he expressed on the field. Caleb is a rookie. He has to get used to the way things are done. However they were done in college, that's not the same way it's done in the NFL. So that was another aha moment. And now I'm starting to think that I know it was said that some of the veterans wanted Caleb benched, and that somebody claimed that Tyson Bajan's father was the source behind that, and that it was kind of a made up thing. Now I'm starting to see that I think some of them did want him benched. I think between calling the plays wrong, making the offensive line look. I mean, the offensive line wasn't good last year. It wasn't. But I think Caleb didn't help them, not only by not being disciplined in the pocket, and you kind of expect out of the rookie, they're going to have growing pains. But I think where the frustration came in is calling the plays wrong. Like, you're not even giving us a chance when we line up. So there was lots of aha moments in that article. And like Tiff said, there were some embellished moments, but there was definitely a lot of moments in that article that made perfect sense with the comments we heard post game and some of the little things we heard last year.
And I'll just throw one more thing in, and then I'll be done. There was a tone, and of course it was taken to the hater level, but the basic tone of the message was, as much as we as in the Bears, kiss Caleb's ass, coming up to the draft, of course he came in feeling like, what I'm saying, he could do no wrong. Of course, all these things. He may have had a little bit of an inflated ego. And if you all remember, leading up to drafting him, that was some of the things that I said, not necessarily us kissing his ass per se, but that his whole life he has been the golden boy, right? He's been in situations where he's been catered to, pampered, as all players in his position are. All the talk coming in is how he's this generational talent that we haven't seen since, like, when you're a football player, you have an ego, period, and you've been that great your whole career, your ego is even more bumped up, and you start to feel like you can do no wrong, and you've been the alpha everywhere that you've been, but now you're coming into a room with professional alphas, like, sometimes it can just not mesh well. And I think that might have been part of it on his end. He's young. Like we said, he has maturing and growing to do. You coming in with these established veterans who see things a certain way. Again, they liked the QB before that. So it was like all these different things. It was just like the perfect storm last year. You've got coaches that are letting laissez-faire, whatever happen. They not reining other coaches in. They not reining players in. They're not reining rookies in. So it was just the perfect storm of dysfunction.
I had three things from that article. December 26th, during a game against Seattle Seahawks that you all mentioned already, Williams walked away from Thomas Brown, as you said, sashayed.
Sashayed away. Not walked, babe. He sashayed away, okay?
The point that got me, it was when TB had to raise his voice and say, "Get your ass back here." And Caleb sashayed his ass right back to the huddle.
Fellas, we all been out there outside with our woman, and we trying to rein her in, and she like, "No." That's what that reminded me of. That's what I was laughing at. We've all been out on dates and they didn't go so well.
He should have just told him to calm down. He should have just said,
never
calm
tell
down,
a woman
bro.
to calm down. That has never worked out, ever. And I'm not calling Caleb a woman. I'm just saying we were just We were just talking about a date, and you did the fingernails thing. But yeah,
Didn't do nothing. I just put.
yeah, we know why you showed your fingernails.
No, I wasn't even thinking about that. See,
Second thing you mentioned, Q, Ryan Poles. I think this is the biggest thing. Not only did one scout say we shouldn't draft Caleb, it was multiple reports that, again, unnamed sources saying that they should go in a different direction. Maybe going different, or maybe not even necessarily go in a different direction, but more so expand their look pre-draft. And Ryan Poles, evident, stuck in his ways, as we know Ryan Poles to do. He was dead set on Caleb the whole way. My favorite 3 words for this regime so far, under the Ryan Poles era, favorite 3 words that I am getting sick and tired of saying: dereliction of duty.
Yeah.
There's no reason why you should not cross every T, dot every I, and check off every box when you're trying to draft your franchise quarterback.
all right, now I don't think I've ever been a Ryan Poles defender, but I've never been a Ryan Poles defender, but I gotta jump in here because we're very much being very revisionist right now, okay? Because let 90% of whomever talk about it, and Caleb was the one. There was no talking. There was no comparison. And I'm not saying don't do whatever due diligence you're gonna do, okay? And you know what made me mad about the article? Because they kept mentioning Drake May. Drake May, please. If we should have been thinking about anybody else, it should have been Jaden,
Yeah.
but I digress. Let's not act like it wasn't the foregone conclusion that whomever had the number 1 pick, unless they just had
Thank you.
Pat Mahomes or Lamar or somebody like that, wasn't going with Caleb. Cut the crap. You want Ryan Poles, whose seat was already a little hot, to once again use the number 1 pick and say, nah, I'm not going to go with this, generational talent. I'm a scourge, and I'm going to go with Drake May. Even Jaden would have been highly, and I'm not saying he has to do it for the fans or for the media, but we got to be realistic here, bro. Like, if he whiffs on Caleb, it's like, okay, you know what? Most people thought he was going to be great. We could understand it. If he passes on Caleb and picks somebody else, and Caleb is anything, he's fired. Let's forget it. So let's not act like now all of a sudden we wanted him to be this huge risk taker. And come on, man, we gotta be honest. 99% of GMs was taking Caleb unless they had one of the top 3 or 4 quarterbacks in the league.
So to add to what Tiff said, and I definitely had I got to jump in on this one. Caleb was the consensus number 1 pick, and when you have conviction in a player, go draft him. I think it's popular to pile on Caleb right now because the Bears aren't winning. Sunday, I spent all day watching football. That was literally a holiday. All I did was watch football. And I'm not trying to sound like I'm defending Caleb. I saw Jaden Daniels miss a layup that was worse than what Caleb missed to DJ Moore. He had Scary Terry. Scary Terry had the defense beat by 7-8 yards. Jaden just airmailed it. I watched Penix look uncomfortable in the pocket, not seeing his progression, not seeing the field well. I saw Drake May put up a lot of yards, but the offense wasn't ran well. He put up a lot of yards, but he did a lot of things that Caleb is criticized for. I think we're at a point where Caleb is under a microscope like the other quarterbacks aren't. I think that's 1, because the Bears aren't winning. 2, because expectations for the Bears are to win. They've won the offseason 3 times in a row. So when you win the offseason 3 times in a row and the results don't happen in the regular season, who is going to get the highest amount of blame? Head coach, quarterback. And I'm not defending Caleb because he has to play better. He has to make the layups. You have the number 1 pick. You're supposed to be better than Penix and Drake May. But I think criticizing Poles for taking Caleb number 1, where I'm sure out of 32 teams in the league, 30 of them would have took Caleb number 1, is a little bit. I think that's a little bit of a reach and a little bit excessive. And I also think that if the Bears had took Drake May number 1, Drake May sure as hell would be struggling here with Eberflus and that offensive line too. We saw Justin looked really good Sunday, and I think Justin will continue to improve. But Justin struggled on this regime too. I don't think the Eberflus regime was who you needed to develop a quarterback. So I think even if you took Jaden Daniels, I think Jaden Daniels is more mature and is ahead of Caleb Williams. But I don't think it would have looked like it like Jaden Daniels in Chicago would not have looked like Jaden Daniels in Washington.
I'm going to reiterate this. They didn't do the necessary work prior to drafting Caleb. Drafting Caleb is not the issue. Not doing your background work on the other quarterbacks or any other prospects is the issue. Just because you go out grocery shopping and you say, I want to buy a steak, that doesn't mean you walk right to the butcher and say, give me a steak. No, you need to examine which one you want first, right?
No, I
You need
want
to
my steak.
do the work.
But if you want steak and you know for a fact you want steak, you're not going in and looking at the chicken. You going in and getting the steak. So I think
I
I
getting the
get it.
steak.
Everybody
I know
wants
what
to
steak
act
I
like
want.
it's like a job interview when you got the internal candidate you know is gonna get it. You do your due diligence and interview other people, but at the end of the day, you already know going in who you picking. And
That's exactly, but isn't that exactly what we want to get out of? That's what we want to stop. We want to stop making the decision before the decision comes to us. True or false?
Yeah, but but it's not. It was if they thought they were making that decision because what they saw from Caleb, whatever due diligence they did throughout the season, was head and shoulders above. I don't know what due diligence they would have done in this process that would have been strong enough to change the direction, I guess is what I'm saying. So if we want to scrutinize and say some coach that probably no longer there is saying, oh, they didn't do their due diligence, but then they could say we did and we still came out with Caleb as number one. Like, who's to say that didn't happen? Even if you have a jaded view going in, like I already got Caleb up here and you have that confirmation bias, you still went through the process. So I don't know. I guess I don't know what we wanted them to do.
Yeah.
According to this source.
And it seems like a lot of people are taking the narrative where the Bears did the same thing in 2017. And this isn't the same thing because Mitch Trubisky was nowhere near the prospect Caleb Williams is. The Bears, well, Ryan Pace in this situation went against his entire front office and coaching staff. And Eberflus and Poe seemed united on the Caleb Williams stand. And national opinion didn't have Mitch Trubisky heads and shoulders over Deshaun Watson. And there was a lot of people that, spoke highly of Pat Mahomes at that draft. In fact, Pat Mahomes went ahead of Deshaun Watson. So I don't think this compares. It seems like they're trying to compare this to 2017. I don't think it's the same case because I don't think I know Mitch Trubisky wasn't a highly heralded prospect. Mitch Trubisky shot up the draft boards late in the college football season and in the pre-draft season. And then Poles fell in love with him. I don't think this is the same comparison.
Based on you coming into the offseason saying, I'm drafting Caleb, and then you do whatever their reasons were, and then you have the interviews and all the other stuff and all the circus that Caleb was that we've learned from the Wickersham book that what Caleb is doing. That should have been maybe not a red flag, but that should have been your signal that, you know what, let me expand my draft process. Let me do some more stuff. I'm not saying don't draft Caleb. I like Caleb. I think Caleb is going to be the best quarterback out of this draft. And I do think it was the best decision to make. However, not doing the other stuff combined is something. It's a fireable offense. I'm gonna just say it.
Well, I remember when I was watching
and this is like the 74th fireable offense of Brian Post.
I remember when I was watching Caleb at USC and I was calling out some things I saw. You called me a hater. I was just doing due diligence. So how come when I did my due diligence, I'm a hater, but now all of a sudden Ryan Post should be fired for not doing that same due diligence?
But you are a hater.
No, I'm not. I was just pointing out, the due diligence. I was doing the due diligence. They need to put me on the scouting team. But you would have called me a hater.
No. I called you a hater because you didn't want Caleb to begin with.
I want you being a hypocrite right now. You being a hypocrite.
No. All right. And the last, and to go further into this point, before I get to my last point, Ryan Poles isn't a scout. He didn't go through that. He didn't go through that progression from scout to player personnel, manager, player personnel, whatever that term is, and then GM and then president of football operations. He didn't go through that. He skipped the line right there, and I think that was highlighted as well in the article that he is a gut feeling guy. He had a gut feeling about Caleb, and he stuck with his gut. He had a gut feeling about Torrey Taylor. He had a gut feeling about Felix Jones. He had a gut feeling about Eberflus. Gut feeling about all these other misses. We had to get out of, again, this is my point, get out of the gut feeling business. We had to get into I did the work, and this is where the work is pointing to. This is the player that shines the best in the battery of tests we put him through. That's what we need to get into. And enough of the gut feelings things. Last thing I have, the captain situation. I think we talked about this last episode, Q. Last year, the Bears had 8 captains, and it seems to be that the votes don't add up for why Caleb was a captain, because they vote on these type of things, the locker room votes, and Caleb somehow became a captain, or they somehow just made a captain spot for Caleb. And I'm gonna say this first: the quarterback should be a captain. The quarterback should be a captain. I don't think that's always a thing. But hold on. I don't think it's always a thing. I don't think a quarterback is a captain on every team. They should be, but I don't think it's not a 100% thing. From what I'm gleaming from this is that going into camp and breaking camp, no one believed that Caleb was a leader of the offense, and no one believed that Caleb should be an alpha in the room. The schism was evident early, basically.
Ryan Poles at the end of season press conference when he in between hiring Ben Johnson and firing Matt Eberflus said, "We skipped steps." And I didn't speak on this earlier, and I had full faith in Caleb Williams. But Jaden Daniels went through a training camp battle. He earned the starting position. Bo Nix went through a training camp battle. He earned. Michael Penix didn't earn the position. Drake May didn't win the quarterback competition, and then he replaced I can't remember who the Patriots broke camp with as a starter. Caleb was the unquestioned starter heading into minicamp. You didn't even try to field any competition for him. You shipped off Justin Fields, even though Justin Fields wouldn't have cost a lot of money, because you didn't want that dynamic in the locker room where players would choose who they favor. You had Tyson Bagent backing him up, and you had no competition, none. And then you name him captain. I know Caleb was a highly touted prospect, but it's still the NFL. You got to earn it. You don't just walk in here based off your USC credentials and be captain, be unquestioned starter, not go through any battle. I just think that was, even if it's only in title, and you knew you were going to name Caleb, there should have been some competition. Either you give Bajan a chance to beat him out, or you make Caleb work to beat him out, because it sounds like they question his work ethic, and I'm like, well, you didn't make him work for the starting job. He was a starting job after he had a starting job before he put on a suit and walked to the podium. He was the starter. So I didn't like that. And then named the captain. I think a rookie, even if you're the quarterback, you got to earn that captain spot, So that article, eye-opening. There was a lot of dysfunction, and I think this is why Ben Johnson's here to change his culture, and this is why he's been so hard on Caleb. So that's one thing I want to point out.
Yeah, I think on so many levels, the Bears just played it wrong. I think on a lot of levels, they set Caleb up for failure. I think just the situation he came into, the unique situation, set him up for failure, for lack of a better term. But it's like, I get it. He's the QB, right? Should be the captain. But again, this is a delicate situation. You dealing with a locker room of men full of egos. And I said this during the offseason, like, it's only so much you want to hear about somebody coming into college and how amazing they are when they haven't taken one snap yet. It's only so much of that you want to hear. And Caleb, he is very, he's confident. He leaned into it, right? Telling, you're not going to be punting much. He's got the screensaver that says 8 championships, just all these things you're hearing. So as a teammate, you better come in and be on your shit then, bro. And you're getting all these things that seem unearned. The captain, the starting spot without any competition. That can breed animosity. It can. Like, humans are humans. So I just think Caleb wasn't set up in the best situation, period. When they saw these things brewing, they didn't address it head on and kind of, quash it. They just let things fester. And it was just a perfect storm. And I don't know if we're completely out of that storm yet. So, yeah. It was a lot.
And we could use that as a segue. The Bears and their processes have kept this team in a standstill since 2013. Seems like, I guess the number one question of this game is, did the Bears choke, or did the Vikings just win the game? Tiff?
With a major selection of the looks your kiddos love starting at just $4 in the Walmart app, a new school year means a stylish new them. Who knew? Find skater skirts and Crocs that say, I'm casual but cool. Sparkly sneakers that say, it's my classroom, you're just learning in it. And preppy polos that say, I'm the teacher's pet, even if they're mommy's menace at home. Find their favorite styles starting at just $4 in the app. The Walmart you thought you knew is now new.
This episode is brought to you by Nespresso and Samra Origins by the Weekend Coffee Collection.
Introducing Samra Origins. My collaboration with Nespresso is a connection to my roots, to my mother, Samra. Coffee that hits the right notes. It transports you. Crafted with unique notes and bold soaring flavors. Experience a taste that moves you. Nespresso and Samra Origins.
Discover more at Nespresso.com.
Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I was looking for fun ways to tell you that Mint's offer of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month is back. So I thought it would be fun if we made $15 bills. But it turns out that's very illegal. So there goes my big idea for the commercial. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just speaking into the void? But with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers, a network of 130 million of them, in fact. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills, and did I say job title? See how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
I'm going to go with we choked, okay? I'm going to go with we choked. Because, again, we had that game in a chokehold. Let me tell you, I had my speech ready. Y'all wanted to talk about J.J. McCarthy the whole damn show. We don't care if he's from the Chicagoland area. We don't care if he came to Soldier Field as a little kid and got his heart broke by the Vikings. We finna whoop his ass. I had my shit ready. And then guess what? We hit this. We hit the choke. We hit every single minute from I'm putting blame on everybody. Bib, Caleb, defense, offense, everybody. Special teams, Santos. So we choked. We had that game in our grasp. We saw what the Ravens did the night before. We said, oh, shit, can we top that? Can we fall apart harder than they did? And we succeeded.
Hey, I gotta agree with Tiff. I was gonna say both, but if you make me pick one, I'm gonna say choke. Because you're up 17-6 with 10 minutes left. They have no momentum. J.J. McCarthy still, even after the comeback, only threw for 143 yards the entire game. You made Aaron Jones ineffective. Jordan Mason was asleep and on my fantasy bench, and then he woke up. So, yeah, you choked. Everything that you were doing well early disappeared. It's like same old Bears. Finding a way to steal or win away from themselves. Like we have a new coach, same old things. Stupid penalties, pre-snap penalties, which frustrate me the most. I mean, you're not even getting caught doing anything in the field of play. You just don't have just a lapse of concentration. So we definitely choked. We did the same thing we do. Bunch of false starts, bunch of pre-snap penalties, just unraveling. You could just see the energy in Soldier Field dissipate. And once again, we find a way to lose, just like last year.
Goofy management of challenges, goofy management of timeouts, goofy management of special teams.
It's like Eberflus was there in spirit. It's almost like Eberflus was there in spirit.
You know what?
Smiling.
I bet you he was sitting at home. I bet you he had every popcorn, ice cream. I bet you he had a great night last night.
He had a big smile on his face.
Even though they lost, even though his team lost, I bet you he was like, yeah, bitches, it wasn't me. I bet you.
I bet that felt good. Another thing that article pointed out was how players got tired of Eberflus's kind of phony, upbeat personality and giving them corny nicknames. And yeah, the Bears House of Dysfunction, that is, as a Bears fan, that is sad, but it is, I can't lie, that was entertaining.
I think that's the title of the podcast. Just goofy deja vu. Chicago Bears season opener against the Vikings, as I said, a game of contrasting halves. Bears lose 27-24 after being up 17-16 with 10 minutes to go. Significant issues in that second half. Q, what's the good from this game?
The good. I was highly impressed by the Bears' depth, the guys that stepped in for the injured players. Sewell, he did give up that touchdown to Aaron Jones. That's a difficult position to be put in as a linebacker covering a running back in space. Aaron Jones is one of the best pass receiving running backs in the game. Other than that, Sewell played with high intensity. He was sideline to sideline. He was chasing everything down. He was filling the gaps. Nashawn Wright going up against his old team, the pick six. That guy stepped up. McLeod, a guy who I think he was on a practice squad at one point for the Bears. Nashawn Wright. Yeah, but those three guys, coming in and filling up. So I felt like the depth pieces really did their thing. They did their job on kind of short notice. So that was my good for the game.
It was funny because the first half, the good, then in the second half, it kind of transformed to bad. The same people I had for good transformed to the bad. But I think overall the defense, I was proud of the defense most of the game, especially coming in so short-handed with key players. When you look at our, did not play list versus the Vikings, it was sick, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So I was really proud of Nashawn Wright. I was proud of Noah Sewell. I was proud of the backups that really stepped in and were doing their thing. Odangbo, however you say his name correctly, he was on J.J. McCarthy's ass most of the game. He was playing well. Like, I really was really proud of the defense. Even when they gave up, that 40-yard, whatever it was on the pass interference, we still were able to hold them to 3, which I thought was crucial in the first half. Dexter, he had some great plays, some sacks, defense overall for 3 quarters. I was really, really proud of them. Offense, I was really proud of Caleb at first. He put his stamp on that first drive. All last season, we didn't have a touchdown on the first drive. So I was proud of him. I was actually happy that he got to scramble it in at the end. He made some great plays that were very fitting, feeling like our offense was coming into its own. Rome had a great diving catch. He was really elusive most of the game. He was getting away from the defense a lot. So, I thought that was some of the good on the offensive side. Again, it was like, both sides of the ball were really humming in the beginning. I had a lot of notes with kudos to people. And then the second half, I didn't delete them, but I felt like it.
Everything you said, I got that in my notes too. I got Jonathan Owens snuffing out that 2-point conversion. Dale did have 2 flags called on him, which you are definitely going to talk about later. But I think those flags they called on him in particular were some lame ass calls. Either way, Dale had 6 pressures on 47 snaps. One of those pressures ended up becoming a sack. He had 1 hit on the quarterback. If it wasn't for Nashawn Wright's pick 6, Dale would have been my defensive player of the game. Going into, I'm piggyback on Caleb too. Again, he began the game really impressive. 10 for 10, as everybody has known. 13 for 16 in the first half, which has been highlighted to me at least 15 times now because I put that in our story. And everybody's like, man, this doesn't age poorly. I think you said the same thing, Tiff. Age like Fairlife milk. Yes, thank you. I am acutely aware of how the game ended. But yeah, Caleb in the first half started the game 10 for 10, and everything fell off the rails after that 11th pass. But he was very efficient. He was going through the reads. He was taking what the defense gave him. You can tell Ben Johnson had those plays scripted, like what we were doing with Shane Waldron. Had those who famously did not have those scripted plays. He had a pocket presence when things broke down. He knew how to feel the pressure and move around, as he was the leading rusher of the game. As you said, the first drive touchdown. We ain't said that a lot lately. Caleb ran that in. He had a spectacular throw to Roma Duze when he escaped pressure down the sideline. It ain't too many quarterbacks in this league, all pro or rookie, that can make that play. Caleb did, and he made it look easy. And he protected the ball really well. He took the check downs when necessary. He didn't hold the ball too long. He made things happen in that first half. But my official good was the vibes. The vibes in the building was so electric. And at one point, I know Nashawn Wright's pick six had the. I know the bar I was at watching the game. We took the roof off when Nashawn Wright picked that boy. But another play. 1 minute left into the third quarter. DeAndre Swift ran over number 2 for the Minnesota Vikings, get that first down. And he got up over and flexed on him. That's the type of Bears football that I like. I like that intensity. I like them vibes. I like that swag. The Bears haven't had that type of, the play that I'm speaking about, we ain't come out like that in this first half since 2006. Not 2013 with Trestman. Definitely not the first year with Nagy. What's that? 2018? No, the team wasn't flicking like that.
I don't know. I think that first game when Matt came in and was second, Aaron Rodgers, like however many times he did, I don't know. I felt like it was a little swaggy that first game.
Because that was the last time the Bears blew a 10-point fourth quarter lead in the opening game of the season. So segue, bad, Tiff. I'll kick this one off. There were a lot of bads. There was the end of the game kicking decision. There was that challenge that you spoke about earlier. There was the second half collapse in total. Their inability to get a positive yard until late into the fourth quarter. The 3 straight touchdown drives the defense gave up. The ineffective run game. There was a lot of bads, but I'm going to harp on this one in particular. The decision to kick that ball out, the decision to kick that ball to the Vikings with 2 minutes, I think 5 seconds left in the game. Ben Johnson, this whole offseason, he's been riding everybody. We got to know where we need to be. We got to be better, right? Everybody got to be better. Rookie head coach, first year head coach, however you want to frame that, guess what? You fucked up right there. That's on you. And to his credit, he did wear it in the press conference. And the reason for those that didn't watch the game, after blowing the lead, the Bears get a touchdown, kick the ball, kick the field goal, they're down 3. They got to get the ball back. They only got 1 timeout left. So it's crucial that we get that 2 minute to help be in our benefit. Cairo Santos kicks the ball. Cairo Santos don't have the strongest leg. He can't kick the ball out of the back of the end zone to force the Vikings to burn a play before the 2 minute warning. The ball gets fielded, and you can see KOC on the opposite sideline telling his kick returner, "Hey, bring that out. Bring that out." Good coaching, right? He's an accomplished coach in this league, even though he doesn't have a playoff win to his name, but he is a respected coach in this league. And that's what you saw on that sideline. Unfortunately, the Bears didn't have that on their sideline. And I'm not calling Ben a bad coach, but he definitely wasn't the most experienced in this matter. Even though we have a dream team coaching staff that I've been saying all off season, it did not work in our favor at the crucial points of this game. If you know Cairo Santos has a weak leg, and we all know that, why isn't Torrey Taylor kicking the ball? Why don't you decide to kick the ball out of bounds? I mean, you're only giving up you get a flag for that, obviously. But they start on the 40-yard line, and you still achieve the result that you wanted. They had to burn a play to get you to the 2 minute warning, therefore giving you an extra timeout. I don't know. There was a couple of things you could have done, but what we did do, it definitely sped that loss up. Tiff, what's your bad?
Yeah, it was a lot of bad to choose from, and you covered Ben pretty well, but I just want to add to that point because I think hopefully this was humbling for the whole team, okay? Not saying that Ben, is some cocky whatever, but like you said, he been on everybody. Like, we need to know every detail, and we need to do woo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Well, guess what, bro? Put that mirror up. Put that man in the mirror up, because it's a few flubs that you had that you need to make sure you're on top of your game. Like you covered the kick. Well, I didn't know, does Cairo have to kick it? I'm like, why don't we use someone with a stronger leg? And to the point, that's when the special teams coach needs to step in and tell his guy, kick that out of bounds or kick it to the end of the end zone. Help your first. You're the only holdover from the previous regime. So you damn sure better be good at your job. Help your first-time head coach. And I don't know what that conversation was, but Ben, that's something you should know. And I'm glad he owned up to it. But also for me, that crucial challenge call. I felt like, is this Eberflus throwing clear what he was challenging? Like, did he not know the rule that if he's down and Noah touches the ball, that the ball is a part of him and he's down by contact? Like, I was really confused what we even challenged, and it ended up being very crucial because that was another timeout that we very much needed at the end of the game. So, you know, everybody gives grace. This was his first game, but I hope that was humbling to him. Like, as much as you're on everybody else about needing to know situational football, bro, you need to make sure in those situations, you know the rules before you throw that red flag, and you're pretty sure that we're going to get the call turned around. You need to know what we need to do to kick it out of the end. You know, all those things. I hope that was a reminder of him. Another bad, I was all on Caleb and I gave him love, but I got to give him a bad too. I ain't going to throw him in worse, or ugly. But there were a lot, like, he can be so frustrating. We can say this about almost all the quarterbacks for the Bears lately, because at times he looked like, bro, that's a throw nobody else could make. That's a getaway, and he throws in those tight windows and pew. And then it's plays where the receiver is wide open, and you like, bro, who the hell are you throwing that to? DJ, Rome. There were several instances throughout the game. I don't know if it was nerves, what it was, but it was like the more open the receiver was, the more he airmailed it. And that's the part that can be frustrating about him. You know, it's that growth, it's that maturity. Like I said, and I think he was a little apprehensive and tentative too, to like push it down the field at times. And I don't know, like, I know Caleb, he has a lot of goals for himself. I know he's very hard for himself. But I said this last year about him not throwing picks. Like, is some of that perfectionism, wanting to hit these stats and wanting not to have turnovers and things like that, is that leading to you holding the ball too long and getting sacked? You not taking that chance of pushing it down the field? Because again, there were times where, number one, the receiver was wide open and he just threw that shit, I don't know to who. Like, somebody commented, like, do he think his receivers are 10 feet tall? Like, even some of the catches, even Rome's catch.
Swear to God.
Even Rome's catch, he had to Superman that hole to get that shit. Like, Komet's catch, he had to do some extra worldly shit. So even some of those plays is like, bro, can you just hit him a little bit more on target? And then at other times, it's like a throw. You're like, how did he pull that shit off? So I just want him to, like, let loose a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? Because don't let thinking you may throw a interception or whatever get in the way of you hitting that home run. You're going to have to take chances. And I know people said that about Justin. They like, oh, he's got to see the person open before he throws it. Like, all these things, like, Caleb, bro, you got to take risks at times. It's risk and reward, right? We don't want you to be careless. But you got to push yourself and not try to check down. Yes, check down is the right play sometimes. And I don't know what Ben Johnson told him. But at some point against different teams, especially our division rivals, who we want to pound them into the ground, we want to make a statement, you got to go for it. You got to let it fly.
I want to talk about the division rivals and my ugly. But yeah, Caleb, as amazing as he looked in the first half, and like you and Q said, you had your shit written up. Man, I was ready to come on him and be like, Caleb's the best quarterback in the division. Bar none. Put the arguments over. Better than Goff. Love is trash. And JJ, he's a rookie. What do you expect out of that? Caleb, number one, with a bullet. But my bro, after that 10th completion, he fell off the tracks. He ended the game 21 of 35. So from that point, he was of 25. My math is correct. Ended the game with 60% completion. That's below average. 60% sounds good if you was in the 90s. 60% is amazing if you're in the 90s. 60% in 2025 is below average. That's the type of second half that he had. A lot of that stuff was high. Oh my God. And don't even get me started. I'm interested in seeing how that game would have played out if he had hit DJ sliding down the sideline. DJ was so open, he was naked. So open, he was naked on that play.
He was so open, I was lightweight looking for him to throw a fit after that one, because that was like, my boy already on edge. My boy already on edge, and he was so wide open on that shit. I was waiting for it, but
it was It was abysmal. And I know a lot because we ended up scoring a touchdown on our first drive anyway. No one's going to really talk about him missing Rome on that post. Rome was wide open for a touchdown too. So yes, we can cut Caleb some slack in a lot of ways, but I'm tired of cutting bro slack, man. He's not a rookie no more. And yes, this is the first year in a new system. There's a lot to pick up, and there are some players you are getting familiar with. But some of these things, you're a generational quarterback. Some of these things got to be innate. You can't miss Rome. Like, I know I'll give you a mulligan on the Rome one. One, because we scored a touchdown on our drive anyway, and two, because you did complete a pass on that play anyway. You got the ball out. You got a first down on that play, if I'm not mistaken, anyway. But yeah, that DJ one, unacceptable. Because you missed him by a mile, bro.
I'm talking about,
and that would have been a
whole city mile, bro. I don't know. Yeah.
The amount of space in between DJ and where the ball actually landed, it's probably from Soldier Field to the Mag Mile. It was that bad. It was that bad. And I'm like, bro, it was busted coverage. You're not gonna get that opportunity again. We didn't. And again, we did score a touchdown on that draft, but the amount of time we had to consume, and we could have just had that 6 right off the back. A lot of things could have been different right now. We could be doing something entirely different right now, Tiff, if it wasn't for that. And let's go to the ugly. You talked about the NFC North, our division ops. Tiff, if I was to give you just one guess, what do you think our record is in the Ryan Poles era against the NFC North?
I mean, I don't think he got more than 5 or 10, like 10 wins, period. I don't know. Maybe that's a little too low. But in his reign period, he don't have very many wins. So I'm going to say 3 wins.
That is a great guess because it's 3-16. 3-16 for Ryan Poles since he said the Bears are going to take the North and never give it back. 3-16.
That's my shut up. Him saying that, Caleb saying you ain't never finna punt and all that. Bro, shut up, please. We have not done. I believe I got on to Damn, he played it so long. What's our quarter, Jalen? He said some old crazy stuff. Stop talking. We have not done nothing for everybody to be talking this big shit. Please be quiet. Be humble.
History is my official ugly. The Bears are 22-51 in divisional games since 2013, since the Trestman era. 127 penalty yards. That's the most ever in a Bears opener. I already said 3-16 since Ryan Poles had that shit to say. History is beating the Bears' ass right now, and I'm gonna say that as my cut the crap. Tiff, you already said it. The Bears talk too goddamn much. I need you to cut the crap. I need you to start backing up your words. You do a lot of chest thumping. This whole organization, from GM down, beats on their chest and gets in front of the mic like they Kanye West and talks heavy, but can't drop a gold album. Your shit stinks, bro. Your shit, you walk around like your shit don't stink, but let me tell you, that shit is horrible. It smells like Lower Whacker. I don't want to hear you say nothing else until you start putting dubs on the board. No more. Don't tell me nothing about we've been waiting on the Packers all off season and get smacked. I don't want to hear it. Don't tell me about how you heard all the haters and you ready to shut everybody up. Just shut them up. Don't tell me about it. I don't need to hear it no more. I am fed up with your talking. Cut the crap.
So I got a bunch of them. So I'm just going to go through them. I'm going to start with the one that always sound like the cop-out, right? But those phantom calls last night was really, really pissing me off. Like, there were at least 3 calls that were very questionable that had dire consequences of the Vikings scoring right after it. The hands to the face call on Odebo.
That was kind of whack.
That was whack. The holding penalty on Darnell Wright was whack. The pass interference call on Stevenson was whack. Like, these are... He tripped. What? He slipped. Just because it's Jefferson don't mean he get every call. He slipped. And my thing is...
Well, you know what? I'm thinking about a different PI. So go on.
The one... I'm not talking about the 42-yard one at the... in like the second quarter or whatever, wherever that was. I'm not talking about that one. I'm talking about the one towards the end of the game that they were... all those situations, they were on third down and they would have had to kick it. But then that was to Jefferson, and he legitimately slipped. And they threw the flag. And I get it. Sometimes you don't see that, whatever. But it's like we are the only team I know that will be at home and we never get favorable calls. The Vikings get consistently favorable calls in that game when we're the home team. It just seems like we never get favoritism from the refs in any way, shape, or form. So that was the first thing that had me really especially because they were so consequential. Like right after those plays, which were all third downs, where they would have had to kick the ball away, they ended up scoring after that. So it was like, golly. That leads me to my next ugly, the defense. Now, I gave the defense a lot of love, a lot of praise, but on the night that we honored the 85 Bears, when it's looking like the defense is paying homage to them and they would be proud, we let them score 3 touchdowns in a row in the fourth quarter. Put up 21 points on us in the fourth quarter and end up beating us at home. And it's like, this wasn't, Lamar Jackson. This wasn't, Pat Mahomes. This wasn't, Burrow or whoever you think is one of the top quarterbacks where you could be like, okay. And granted, the Vikings are a good team last year. Like, they had a great defense. They had a decent offense. But this is J.J. McCarthy's first NFL game. I don't care what he did in college. I don't care how talented he is. In the first half, he looked nervous. In the first half, he looked scared. We had them under our thumb. But at the end of the game, how did he look like the poised veteran? How, after that pick six, did he turn around and basically flip the switch and get whatever he wanted on us? That's crazy. That man looked like he was the generational talent. And I'm not saying how he played. I'm just saying how poised he stayed in that moment when nobody really would have faulted him for them just losing that game. It would have been chalked up his first game, nerves, Monday Night Football. But nah, he was like, F that. I'm about to go out here and take it. And he did. And we helped by giving it away. So again, the defense could have been gassed. We were shorthanded, all these excuses that we could make. But at the end of the day, 3 touchdowns in a row is unacceptable in the fourth quarter when we got that game won. And my final ugly, Santos, bro, come to the front of the room, sir. Come to the front of the room because I like you and all of that. But, bro, it's no way in your field, Soldier Field, which is notoriously hard for kicking field goals, okay? We all got scars in our heart for field goals in that stadium. No way you let some unknown kicker for the Vikings come in and absolutely nail a 59-yarder, which tied the record in Soldier Field. And when it comes in, you only have to hit a 50-yarder in the same direction. Bro, you weren't even close. And then you can't kick the ball out of the back of the end zone. Sir, this is all we pay you to do, bro. In the offseason, you was kicking that thing everywhere. In preseason, you was looking like, okay, this man done got his swag on. He finally, got the longer kicks down. But when it mattered, it's like nothing. Oh, and I got one more. That made me think of one more ugly. It felt like the same old Bears at the end of the half. You remember last year, we would have the game pretty well done we were playing really well in the first half. And that last play before halftime, it's like we just fell asleep and let the other team drive down and score. The exact same thing happened this game. We had them, under our thumb. And that very last drive, we let them drive down the field and kick a field goal, which kind of gave them a little bit of life, gave them a little bit of momentum. It's like we just fall asleep at the most inopportune times. Bro, the game is not over until it's not halftime until that clock hits 0. The game is not over until the game is over. We get so confident and so cocky when we have a lead that we just fall asleep at the wheel like we're the Kansas City Chiefs or something. No, bro, we got to go full throttle the whole game. We cannot take plays off. We can't slack. We can't get lax in our mind. And that's what happened at the end of the half. And that's what happened at the end of the game. And again, that is a continued pattern that has happened year after year.
I got it. The momentum switching right when Cairo Santos missed that 50-yarder because that gave the Vikings a short field. And then they went down there and scored their first touchdown. First of 3, like you noted, right to Justin Jefferson. Didn't help me win my fantasy matchup, but still. And it still didn't win my parlay. But again, Cairo Santos, he definitely needs to be brought to the front of the room. That was an excellent take, Tiff. Well, you know what? as we're closing up, we talked a lot about the bad, a lot of crap in this game. But you know who we didn't talk about? We didn't talk about the line. How did you feel about that offensive line performance?
Actually, I felt okay about it, save the penalties, right? And they're not even necessarily. I think there were a couple holding calls that were like I said, the one on right.
There were five false starts.
The false starts. That's what I was gonna say. The two holding. Okay, the false starts. It's like I think a couple of them were on DJ. A couple of them, yeah. Save the penalties, which again ended up costing us, right? Because we had that holding penalty, and then this was a crucial play in the game to me where the momentum shifted again. That was where we had the penalty on right, so we backed up. Then Caleb had the intentional grounding that pushed us back even further. Then we got like maybe 9 or 10 yards up, and then that's when Cairo missed that 50-yarder. So if we wouldn't have had that penalty and Caleb, we wouldn't have had Caleb's penalty, hopefully Cairo would have made that field goal and we wouldn't have been in this position that we were in. So they were some crucial penalties, but save the penalties, I thought the O-line held up pretty well. I mean, there were times that Caleb had to scramble, but we got to remember how great the Vikings defense is. And I think he had tons of time on majority of plays to get where he wanted to get.
Jonah Jackson, according to PFF Ultimate, which is not the regular PFF that a lot of people don't care for. The Ultimate is getting used in the NFL. The coaches, teams, they use PFF Ultimate. It's a pay service. According to that service, Jonah Jackson had 15 losing snaps. Compare that to Darnell Wright, who had 2, Mooney, who had 3, I believe, and Braxton, who had like another 3 or 4. Drew Dalman, I don't think Drew Dalman had any, or if I'm reading this correctly. Jonah Jackson was a problem. He was the biggest problem, other than Caleb Williams' accuracy in the second half. He was the biggest problem for the Bears last night. Jackson finished with an overall grade of 31 in 66 snaps last night. In 46 pass blocking reps, he scored 22.6, and in 20 run blocking reps, he wasn't much better. It was like 44.8. He committed 2 pre-snap penalties and gave up 5 pressures. That is inexcusable. He's supposed to be an upgrade to the crap we had at the interior of the line last season. That right there is what we had. We saw way too much last season, and we cannot see a return performance of that again. Absolutely cannot. I would rather put Ryan Bates in the game than to see a highly paid free agent do that shit. Can't have that again. I would assume this would be his worst game of the season because he's going to be a lot better going forward. But shout out to Caleb. Shout out to Caleb for being able to feel the pressure and move around and not take any. I think Caleb only took, 1 sack on the night, which is an improvement still. Braxton Jones, I mentioned him. I don't think, just from my eyes, I know the scores say Braxton had a good night. From my eyes, Braxton had a lot of help. They were actually out there helping Braxton, which is a good thing. Credit to the coach. Credit to the coaches to understand that Braxton is limited. He's limited in talent, and he's limited by his health. So you definitely don't want to leave him on the island, something that Eberflus and them would have did. Braxton, he had a couple of run blocking plays that I wasn't a fan of. The running wasn't great. So that goes back to the offensive line as well. In the preview, I said that's going to be the key of the game. I expected the Bears to win the line of scrimmage. They did not. DeAndre Swift, he averaged 3 yards per carry. Caleb Williams, again, like I said, he led the team in rushing, and that's just because he had to break out of the pocket because he got flushed in some cases. All in all, I think the worst unit was the offensive line. The defense, yes, they gave up 3 straight touchdowns in the last 12 minutes of the game. However, if TJ Edwards is out there, if Jalen Johnson's out there, Caleb Gordon's out there, I don't think this Vikings team scores if the Bears defense is healthy. That's the only thing that's giving me of pause, because I'm like, you know what? We weren't our best version of ourselves. First game of the season, there's going to be some hiccups. I get it. I liked what I saw in the first half. I liked what I saw in the first half so much that I'm willing to not jump off the deep end and really crash out on this squad. So I'm expecting this to be just a minor hiccup, a minor bump in the road. You hit the curb, all right, but nothing's damaged. All right, we're going to keep moving. We're going to keep moving the other direction. Next time we see the Vikings in their house, we walking away with a dub. Last thing, it could be worse. It could be worse. We could be the laughingstock of the division. We're not. We're not, because there's another 0-1 team in the division as well, and they got pants. They got pants on Sundays. At least we were more competitive than that team, who shall remain nameless.
Yeah, we were, but I'm done with moral victories, because I'm an optimistic person, so I'm gonna choose optimism in every way.
Really?
We done had a lot of optimism here lately. Okay, we've had a lot of it. It just felt like such a missed opportunity. If we
Big
had
time.
really just gotten dragged, that's one thing that's easier to accept almost. But it's like we had that victory. We had it, and we just let it go to our division rival, which we know our division is going to be very competitive. Like that loss meant something. And hopefully it meant that fire, that final coal of fire that we needed under everybody's ass to really look at themselves. I don't want to hear nobody say nothing about what somebody else would have done. Everybody put the mirror up to themselves, from coaching, from Ryan Poles to damn Kevin Warren to everybody on down. Put that mirror up to yourself and say, what could I have done better? Because everybody on that team needs to look at themselves and stop looking at all these other outside things that don't have nothing to do with nothing. Because everybody on that team can improve from the coaching staff down. So hopefully this really is that 100th wake-up call that you're not as good as you thought you were. You're not as far along and advanced as you thought you were. Just because we brought in a new coach and this, that, and the third, it doesn't mean the light is automatically going to flip on. No, you all have to flip it on and keep it on and keep your foot on the gas. So hopefully this is really the turning point in the season where they realize this ain't a game. Like we can't play around. We've got to play the full game. We've got to coach the full game. We've got to be ready for every scenario that could present itself. We've got to be cool, calm, and collected and confident throughout. And, next week and the week after that, hopefully we'll be talking about how this was the spark that the team needed to really get where we want them to be.
Bear down, Tiff.
Bear down.
Thanks for listening to this latest episode from the Frustrated Chicago Sports Fan Channel. Don't matter if you listen to this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or watch it on Twitch or YouTube. Make sure you like, subscribe, share with a friend, hit the notification bell so you never miss a drop. And to all the guys from Chicago, we say three things. Bear down, go Cubs go, and sell the team, Jerry.